las tormentas agitan los aires y nubes oscuras nos impiden ver.
Greetings, viewers, siblings, friends, comrades, workers of the world, and welcome to the Black Rose. So this has been a long time coming. It might be almost 2 years too late, but now is the time that I present unto you the long-awaited Q&A. I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but I mean, here we are, so let's not waste any more time. Masala Cult asks, what would you label yourself as politically, and what organization are you a part of? I currently classify myself as not a Maoist yet, and as of right now, I'm not part of any organization. That's just because I'm very busy right now, though. A communist without an organization is like a fish without water. Julia Ribber Pitt asks, what kind of methodology or epistemology should anarchists use, in your opinion? For example, do you think anarchists should use dialectics or no? I think anarchists should use dialectics, but if they did, they probably wouldn't be anarchists. Socialist Party of YouTube asks, what kind of anarchist are you? And why are you that and not the others? Are you a vegetarian/vegan? I'm not an anarchist anymore, so not applicable. I am a vegetarian, but not for political reasons. I just kinda am. Ash Kit asks 3 questions. Thoughts on no platform? Like no platform for fascists? I'm resoundingly in favor. Thoughts on the Animal Liberation Front? I mean, it depends on what they do and what ideologies they follow. The ALF are more of a label to stamp on your actions than a real organization, so I think it's hard for anyone to have a consistent opinion on them. However, if they prevent rich people from wearing fur coats without fucking too much with the minks, that's good enough for me. Should we support Rojava, and if so, how? The Kurdish people have the right to self-determination and independence, so yeah, we should support them any way we can, whether that means collecting money to rebuild cities or flying your ass over there to volunteer. Unraveling Fallacy, pretentious fucking name, asks, have you seen Submedia's documentary End:/Civ, and if so, what are your thoughts? I have not seen it, but my comrade tells me it's fucking trash. Edgy Zapatista asks 4 questions. What would you say is the single most convincing reason for someone to become an anarchist? Well, it is the second best revolutionary ideology, and to its credit, it does sort of solve a contradiction that a lot of MLs don't really recognize, but we'll get to that later. What is your advice for people new to organizing? I would actually say I'm fairly new to organizing myself, so I'll let someone more experienced, my comrade Mao Trash, deal with this.
Really, the best advice that I can give to anyone who's new to organizing is that a lot of organizing is just being a friendly enough person that people want to be around you. It's a very social thing, so you just really have to keep that in mind and just not be a dick, and don't focus on creating controversies to move your organizing work forward. Really focus on building unities with people before you focus on where your differences are.
What, if any, arguments would you like to see anarchists stop making? I mean, all of them? Can I say all of them? I'm gonna say all of them. Are there forms of libertarian socialism you would not be willing to support? All of them. Brosk Benny asks, my question is more of a philosophical nature regarding... Yeah, okay, fuck off. Pascal Pulella asks, what do you think about the anarchist movement in terms of global scale? Do you think international revolution is important? How would you see a cooperation of revolutionary populations within separate geographical regions work? I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer this, but aren't there already examples of revolutionary areas communicating and cooperating with each other? I don't necessarily think this is an issue we need to solve. And yes, international revolution is important. Just don't make it permanent. Kenneth K asks 3 questions. Who do you think a left-anarchist could have more of an outreach to? Libertarians or liberals? I mean, whoever the masses are in this scenario. Are there legit alternatives to syndicalism? Fuck yes, don't get bogged down in economism. Class struggle needs to be holistic, not limited to just union struggle. What do you think of anarcho-primitivism? It's fucking trash. MS Umaoeder? Is it Miss Umaoeder? Miss Umaoeder asks, what do you consider to be the things Marxists could learn from anarchists and vice versa? Some Marxists, particularly revisionist MLs, could learn to be more critical and recognize that there can be a contradiction between the leadership and the masses that needs to be sorted out. An anarchist could learn to have some fucking discipline, but I mean, then they probably wouldn't be anarchists anymore. Do you consider the labor theory of value to be correct, and what does this imply for your vision of class struggle? Yeah, I do, but I don't think it affects my vision of class struggle as much as it solidifies it. Thoughts on Trotsky's permanent revolution? Yeah, it's fucking trash. Cronenberg asks 7 questions. What are the hardest pro-capitalist arguments, and what would be the best answers? Personally, I think it's mainly when they get into numbers and shit, but I also think there's an easy way to respond to these arguments, since they're usually based on faulty models of capitalism that are more or less just accurate on paper. Why did you become an anarchist? I watched libertarian socialist rants. What are your favorite socialist authors? I hope I can say this without my remaining anarchist subscribers crucifying me, but Lenin's got some serious sass, so he's fun. What would be a non-violent alternative to workers' revolution? I mean, have you seen Zeitgeist? Just fucking throw your money at the bank. How would distribution be regulated in a non-market system without currency or prices? I personally believe that by creating a system of stores where people can take what they need, this perfectly showcases one of the biggest problems with utopian socialism. Because utopian socialism more or less is based around building a perfect post-capitalist system on paper before overthrowing capitalism, you can never be sure that its solutions are going to be in line with the needs of the society you find yourself in. You can construct a solution that looks like it's going to work, but our observations of socialism are very limited, and therefore we just can't know what will be necessary until we get there. This is what separates utopian socialism from Marxism. Utopian socialism is a body of pre-packaged but risky solutions. Marxism is a system by which you analyze society and come up with new but safe solutions. What are your favorite bands and music genres? I mean, I like a lot of shit, but I mainly listen to punk rock and hip-hop. It's mainly punk, though. It's almost exclusively punk. Do you like anime or video games? Fuck no. Sticky Fingers at Heaven's Door asks 2 questions. What's your opinion on Maoism? It's pretty positive, gotta say. How do you think we in the anarchist community can more effectively sway public opinion towards anarchism? This mass line is something. Imashi88 asks 5 questions. What is your thoughts on pacipitism? Pacipitism. I don't know what that means, buddy. Since you believe money should be abolished or made obsolete, would you support a guaranteed basic income within capitalism? And that just sounds like welfare, but worse. What is your thoughts on gun control? Guns are pretty cool, and also like necessary for revolution. What's your thoughts on queer anarchism? I mean, it's just anarchism with the word queer in front of it. Like any proper anarchist is already in favor of queer liberation. Do you favor anarcho-syndicalism, insurrectionary anarchism, or a mix of the two? Are those the only 2 things there are? Because I could have sworn there were like way more things. Dr. Schleuker asks, what are your ideas for how the justice system could work in an anarchist society?
Now, choice is yours. Exile or death.
Crypto Gorilla asks, how large can an anarchist military be? I like Machno's idea of a large anarchist military. So, judicial system, check. A large military, check. Nope, not a state. Not at all. It sounds completely not like a state. Walter Castle asks, vad tycker du om svenska partiet Direktdemokraterna? Vilket svenskt parti ligger mest i linje med dina åsikter? Okej, här är en PSA till alla mina svenska följare. Delta inte i den borgerliga demokratin. Ni gör ingen skillnad. Lägg er energi på andra ställen där ni faktiskt kan återkomma någonting istället. Jag vet att det kan kännas lockande att rösta på V eller Fi eller något sånt, men alltså trust me here, det är bara lägg ner. Joshua Comden asks, how do you create and implement an anarchist society from scratch? Well, you know, as Carl Sagan once said, if you wish to create an anarchist society from scratch,
you must first invent the universe.
The Rantmaster53, you gotta work on that username, asks, do you think that currency should be abolished in your ideal anarchist society? I mean, I like the idea of abolishing currency, but I don't know. What's your view on Russell Brand's Love the Police campaign? Holy shit, when I announced this, Russell Brand was still relevant. Also, it was fucking trash. What's your view on anarchists enabling ads on videos? I mean, people gotta make money somehow. Fuck it, I'm probably gonna turn ads on this. What do you think is the most likely solution to achieving anarchism through pacifist means? There isn't one. Revolution ain't a dinner party. What's your opinion on age of consent restrictions? Do you believe a minor and an adult should be together if they're both consenting? I'm personally quite confused about this one myself. How the fuck are you confused? But like, how? What? Fucking how? Do you think it's hypocritical for an incredibly wealthy person to be an anarchist? I don't think it's hypocritical to be rich and a communist of any kind, but it is hypocritical not to use your wealth to fund the cause. You know the conspiracy theory that tries to claim that George Soros found the radical left? Yeah, you want to be like that, but actually real. Stefan Krin asks, how do we redistribute wealth in an anarchist society? As in deep examples and suggestions, not just democratic. I ain't going into deep examples and suggestions, because unlike utopian socialists, I can admit that I don't know what solutions will fit future material conditions. Is full communism possible? It's a historical inevitability independent of anyone's will. Is a wage system necessary like Bakunin proposes? Like labor certificates? I mean, stop asking me to predict the fucking future. So many people bring up the argument, but I wouldn't want to work if I don't get paid. But a doctor doesn't want to work if he gets paid the same. And also, if you advocate labor certificates, or whatever you want to call them, how should we distribute them? Since you can argue that some people work harder than others. All I can say is that we have to construct a system that fits the material conditions we're presented with, and we have to be prepared to adapt the system as conditions change. Stagnation is one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a socialist society. The Stain asks, what's your opinion on football ultras? I don't really care. I don't like football. I mean, if we're talking like St. Pauli and shit, that's cool, but I feel like you could put that energy elsewhere. Sex Daddy, Jesus Christ, dude, you, what? Okay, asks, thoughts on Max Stirner, egoism and individualism? All fucking trash. American Municipalist asks, I've got a question, what happened to this account? Hey, fuck you and your dead utopian ass ideology. Don't be fucking sassing me. Autonomous Marxist-Leninist asks, what do you think anarcho-communism is better than market socialism? Because I watched Capitalism 101 and learned that markets are bad. Randomaited asks, would you be inclined to work with fellow members of the left who are not anarchists to push socialist goals? So basically, would you be willing to work with Marxists and or social democrats to achieve socialist ends? In most cases, very much yes, but what we need to remember is to build united fronts based on where unities already are. That is to say, don't unite when your goals are more or less incompatible, and don't allow any particular organization to take over. Especially Trots, keep your eyes on them because they're a bunch of slimy bastards. Annoying Anarchist asks, your biggest critique of Marxism? Go away, Scalatron. Crop K asks 3 questions. Overall, what's your opinion on platformism and why? It's definitely the best and most principled type of anarchism. What is your opinion on veganism, vegetarianism, and speciesism? Well, the first 2 are relatively healthy and popular diets, and the third one is just not a real thing and does not exist in the real world. Out of the many great anarchist and lower left thinkers, who is your favorite? Fucking lower left, can we just kill that? Can we please just kill the political compass? Like, it's bullshit. SugarJumper45 asks, should we ally ourselves with vanguardists like Cuban socialists, Leninists, Trotskyists, Maoists, etc., etc.? Cuban socialists are pretty good at anti-imperialism. Trots are fine to work with sometimes, I guess, but don't fucking trust them. Stay on your toes. Short answer, yes. What are your thoughts on Black Bloc? Pretty good as long as you stay disciplined, which, no offense, anarchists could use some work with. Who's your favorite anarchists? I personally love Nestor Makhno. I mean, it's between Kropotkin and Goldman, but I have a hard time deciding. Forsaken Heretic asks, let's say every world government fell tomorrow and were reorganized into anarcho-communist / syndicalist communes, mutualist co-ops, and anarcho-capitalist corporations. Would the three ideologies be able to coexist peacefully together? I hate these types of hypotheticals so much, because there's no way this could actually happen. Like, there's zero historical basis for anything even close to this ever happening. But okay, let's play the scenario out. So to start off, the mutualist communities would just immediately break down and revert back to capitalism, because that's how markets work. So from this point we have two factions, ANCAPs and ANCOMs. Now the ANCAPs would have already formed a bourgeois state, as anarchists love to point out, while the ANCOMs would have to form a proletarian state in order to defend their interests from the ANCAPs. So what we end up with is just good old class struggle. Okay, quick fire time. Vidme:Hilsenius asks, thoughts on info-anarchism? That just sounds like all anarchism. Anarcho-monarchism? Not a thing. Proudhonian mutualism? Market socialism for people who hate Jews and didn't learn anything from the Paris Commune? Anarcho-primitivism? Already answered this one, it's fucking trash. Post-scarcity anarchism? It's just anarchism plus Star Trek. Anarcho-syndicalism? It had a good run, but it's time to move on. Esperantist anarchism? Is this a thing? Because I feel like it shouldn't be a thing. Agorism? Yeah, remember what I said about markets? And anarcho-transhumanism? It's just anarchism plus Star Trek. Side note, putting the word anarcho in front of something doesn't make it a thing. Anarchism plus being pro-body augmentation does not count as a fully fledged ideology. Schizophonic asks, what do you think of Democratic Confederalism by Öcalan, the main framework of organization in Rojava, Kurdistan, and the Kurdish movement in general? The Kurds have the right to self-determination, and if Democratic Confederalism is what they want to go for, that's fine, but I just gotta say, I'm really fucking tired of seeing first-day, first-world anarchists talking about it like it's the best fucking thing since sliced bread, and telling people to Google Murray Bookchin. Like, fuck off. I'm heavily willing to bet most of y'all doing this shit don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Diamond Mantis asks, what do you think about using the internet as a lethal weapons like the Zapatista in 1994? Or, to take a more recent example that I can think of off the top of my head, Gamergate, in which would make email requests to advertisers to pull ads away from certain companies that rely on them, etc. I don't know, I feel like a gun is like more effective. I mean, armed struggle is always primary. There is a place for a lot of things in a successful movement, but I don't think this idea of emailing advertisers specifically is very good. Ryan Cash asks, what ideology is worse? Anarcho-capitalism or Maoism/Stalinism? I mean, definitely Maoism. Wenividi Vici asks 4 questions. How can the anarchist revolution deal with the counter-revolution? Form a proletarian state? What do you think about people who say that anarchist forms of organization are disorganized? I mean, not to be an asshole or anything, but in my experience of being part of an anarchist organization, they're kind of right. What do you think about democratic centralism and the dictatorship of the proletariat? I probably would have gotten another answer 2 years ago, but now I'm a big fan. Badmouse Production asks, when did you become an anarchist and how? What are your thoughts on mutualism, your biggest criticism of the anarchist movement? I already answered these questions. I just want to bring up the fact that you were a fucking ANCAP, or like a very fresh ANCOM when I announced this. It's been a while. Okay, last question. What do you think there hasn't been another anarchist social revolution since the Spanish Civil War? I think you should do what I did, which is look inside your heart and ask yourself this question. And with that, I just have one thing to say. Until next time, and knowing me, that could be another 2 years. Remember, you have nothing to lose but your chains.